Hey, what's up, everybody? I just wanted to maybe take a few minutes to kind of show you how I'm kind of routing this rig. I've been getting a lot of questions about that. And I figured I'd just kind of go through how that works. Because about a couple of years ago, I decided I was just getting burnt out from using DAWs. And while I use Cubase still for post production stuff, and while I use it for other genres and things like that, all my techno ideas and productions and projects are now coming out of the rack here. In order for me to do that, initially what I was doing, I was routing everything. I was using Expert Sleeper's ES8 as kind of like my interface, and I had it plugged in over here. I still have it, and it works great. The problem I had with it really had more to do with my computer, Cubase. I have this computer's a few years old. I'm about to replace it, but I don't know. It just slowed my workflow down, and even though I was routing everything into the computer and then side chaining within Cubase, I realized that if I was going to really have to do this outside of Cubase, I was going to have to figure out a way to kind of route things in a similar sort of fashion in order for me to get the kind of effect that I was looking for. So really a lot of that, as you can imagine, involves compression and side chaining and things like that. So conscious of what I needed. I had all of these other parts, pieces here for creating, but what was I going to do in terms of getting this all routed correctly and then getting that all into some sort of recording device? So everything kind of starts out in terms of the foundation of everything. Everything ends up here in the blue box. Blue box, as you guys probably know, 1010 Muzik. This is the rack mount version. This allows me to plug in various channels, whether it's stereo, whether it's mono. I can kind of set up the mixer how I want and configure it how I want. And essentially, this is the recording device that I'm using to kind of just build these projects off of. Once I finish the projects, then I ultimately bring them back into Cubase to do some post-production cleanup of frequencies and stuff like that, using various VSTs. But everything gets kind of routed into here, and as you can see, there's a few steps, and we're kind of going backwards a little bit, but there's a few steps along the way that are happening here, so I want to kind of just illustrate these. As you can see here, I have Erica Synth's drum compressor, and what I liked about this is that while it does have side chaining functionality, I don't really use it for that. I wound up I got this first, admittedly, thinking I could use the side chain in here, but I wasn't able to really kind of carve out the side chaining effect like I wanted to in certain contexts. So what I'm using this for now is primarily to compress the kick. I have kick ain here, as you can see. And although that also too has side chaining functionality, I don't want to rely on that either because there's just some limitations compressor wise. So I have the kick routed into the compressor, and then simultaneously I have another compressor here. Now, before I jump into that, all of this is a stereo signal coming out of kick ain going into the stereo comp, the out of the comp going into the first two inputs of my blue box. Prior to that, everything is coming into the Mesor by Cosmotronic. This is a fantastic compressor. It's great in terms of it just gives you a lot of flexibility to kind of dial things in the way you want, whether you want more of that pumping effect, whether you want less. You know, the attack, everything is really great in terms of its flexibility. So I route everything out of here, and as you can see, going also into the next two channels here into the blue box, right? So this all gets kind of summed from my Soundstage 2. I use this religiously as well. This is kind of the foundation piece in terms of mixing everything together that are parts outside of the kick, outside of some hi-hat stuff. Because some of the hi-hat stuff I want to go directly in here. I don't use compression inside here on the main bus or anything like that. But what I do is, you know, since I don't have any compression running on here, I don't want those transients lost in some of those sounds. So the hi-hats, maybe some snares, maybe I route them individually out of Aikido into here. But the bulk of things in many cases kind of runs into the soundstage first. I also have some effects, this little Pico DSP in here that I use for some reverbs and stuff like that at times. But everything kind of gets routed out of here. As you can see, I don't really have this too extreme in terms of the settings. You know, you push this too hard, the volume, and it clips. But if you if you dial in the depth of the curves inside Soundstage, it almost kind of it's almost too much. But it's great that they allow you to dial that in. So again, everything is kind of routed into here. And that's all coming from Aikido and this Dofer A135-2. So I take all of those parts, run them into here, again, minus the hi-hats and things like that I'll still send over to the blue box. But I also do, what was I going to say here? I also do have some other effects and a second mixer that kind of sums things up, especially, whether it's certain parts I want certain effects on. I'll just run them through here, and then this runs into the channels of the A135. So again, I mean, this is all kind of going backwards here, but this kind of gives you an idea. Now, one more thing is I have all of the CV control basically set up here on this XIV. I forget who makes this. I think it's who the heck is it? Detroit Synths? I forget. I'm sorry. But at any rate, this has been great for me in terms of just having CV control of the volumes and things like that. I tend to mix a lot of things live. I try not to, I don't do any overdubbing unless it's just a freehand kind of just playing on here, whether it's like a pad or something like that. But I do a lot of stuff kind of on the fly. So this has been a key piece for me to kind of make that happen. It's great because it has these little switches here, so you could change it from 0 to 5 volts, 0 to 10, or negative positive 5 volts, which is awesome to have. So a lot of flexibility there. I think you can control things MIDI-wise too with appropriate cables. But yeah, again, this is primarily used to kind of control CVs going in and out, going into the mixer here. And then occasionally I'll use some of these extra channels for any effect sends and kind of things that I want to move in and out. So again, this is just the routing that I have for the system. I know it's kind of long-winded here. But all of this kind of combined. Oh yeah, one more thing too. I've been using this Golden Master from Endorphins. I run all of the sounds from the Soundstage into here. This has been a great piece because this kind of provides a little bit of, I can EQ things, I can compress if I want to. It also has some spatial, some spatial kind of things where I can spread things out a little bit by frequency, which is really cool, as you can see in here. So this thing's been really helpful in terms of kind of dialing in and kind of carving out stuff that I don't want. The mixer in here is great, by the way. I mean, you can kind of go through various channels and and kind of carve out whatever you want. There's a lot of flexibility in this machine here. And one of the things that's great about it is that you can just run a line right out into a phone or whatever if you want to just do the recording and stuff like that you normally see me do in these crazy videos that I make. But that's it. That's kind of what I do in terms of the rig. Then after that, I kind of just, again, put it into the computer and just kind of do some post-production stuff. But hopefully that helps. Feel free to share any comments.